Hello everyone, this is Comyn, Michael Skye, my ally, and we're still in Ecuador. And yesterday we were talking about something that struck me so strongly that I want to share it with you. And it happened. You were reading my book, The Way of a Seducer: A Code of Honor to a Lost Art. And maybe it's difficult to recount, but what you said, I'm realizing something as I'm reading this book. What was it?
Well, we've been talking a lot about how to grow your business and help men and build a community and really turn it into like a business that takes off, that's resulting in transformation for men on their journey with women. And I've been approaching it from a very kind of left brain. This is how you build a successful online business. And reading your book, what I just, when you read your book, because it's like poetry, right? And poetry is right brain. It's one thought doesn't follow logically from the next. It's more like you're getting these snapshots from the mind of the individual, and it kind of all comes together and you see his world. It's very right brain, and it's the opportunity to kind of just step into seeing the world as yourself and other people as a seducer. And what I notice about like your journey is that you see yourself that way. You identify as that. That's who you are. That shapes a lot of your actions. You having really taken that on and identified with that just results in so many things coming natural to you.
Right.
That for guys who are on their journey but they haven't embraced that identity, that feel that a lot of these actions that you would have them take to become better with women feel incongruent with who they are, with their identity. So it takes a lot of motivation or discipline or
Right.
And that's, and I mean, I've been doing transformational work for a long time, and that's always the challenge, is how do you help people attain a radical transformation that improves their life in a great way. And so the insight for me was, this should be, like, what if instead of just building a community, we were building a cult? Not in any kind of negative sense, but in the, when people become Christian, for example, there's so many stories of like, I mean, you go back to the Bible and Paul, he has a revelation. He's going down the, I think it's Paul, and then he even gets a new name. He becomes Peter, and then his life is going one way, and then it's going a complete different way. And he has a radical identity transformation. His whole life changes. You see this with many people who become Christian. It's like they accept God as their Lord and Savior or whatever, and now they've turned over their authority to him and they follow him.
Or they've what struck me so much in it is that you saw and stressed and saw the possibility in this book of helping guys make an identity shift. An identity shift first that makes all of the other things, say the challenges I have throughout the courses, that makes that a lot easier.
Yes.
To me, the idea of like an identity shift as helping guys transforming, that to me is incredible.
Yes.
That's very powerful.
Yes. It's a shift in being more than doing. And that's, if you're a cyclist, you identify with the cyclist, you wear the cycling gear, you do what cyclists do, you think like everything is
Right.
like you're a cyclist. So getting up in the morning to ride your bike for several hours is just what you do.
Right.
It's like comes so natural, and a big part of that is you've had something's happened in your story to where now you identify as that.
Right.
And then the rest comes easy.
I want to relate it back to the guys who are like, because I realized over time, I was always an artist, and then I feel a growing commitment, interest in helping guys transform. And I applied a more left brain approach to that, because that's what you see. And so I have for example, 13 themes in the Way of a Seducer course, and I have 13 challenges where I got get guys to take action. And as you say, and it's been my frustration, I look at it, and a lot of guys fall away because it's too much, and at least the challenges for most of the guys are hard. It's hard work.
And you know, the risk is a lot of them, faced with that failure,
Yes,
will then conclude, I'm not a seducer.
I'm not a seducer.
I'm just not someone who's
Right.
going to be great with women.
So what can we? So if
Which is the opposite result that you want, right?
exactly. So how can we? We've been thinking about this more, but Michael will explain. How can we help guys have an identity shift that will help them do all those challenges? That will help them do the things that, say, a seducer would do. You know,
Yes.
instead of thinking of themselves using seduction as a tool to get women, you know, identifying as a seducer and then do the things that a great seducer would do naturally, with pleasure. It's his pride and honor, you know, to do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
What are the elements of an identity shift, or how can we make that happen?
Well, first, I would look to cults. Frankly, I would look to like a church. You know, a cult is a culture, and a culture is a cult.
I like that,
You know?
culture.
Inside of American culture, we certain people are heroes.
Okay.
Certain figures started it. Certain figures walked a path of transformation that the rest of us aspire to. There's certain things you're allowed to think about and say and do, and there's certain things you're not allowed to think about, say, and do in any culture.
Right.
And this is one of the great liberating things I mean, to me, I'm no longer American. I'm a world traveler.
Right.
Like this means, and we even, you know, coyote, right? We cross boundaries. We like, I don't just like to travel. I like to actually experience myself being Brazilian. That's nothing like just visiting Rio or whatever. Like, what's amazing to me is experiencing myself as Brazilian. It's
Right.
incredible. And I had a huge transformation after I did that, when I was on my travels. Brazil transformed me incredibly. And okay, I want to come back to that, but I'm going to go back to the church thing for a second. So, like,
tell me the elements, if you can, of what an identity shift, how that is made possible. You said a book, you know, a book where you, like this book of poetry, and you read it over and over. It helps you see yourself as a seducer, for example.
Yes.
What else can people do to identify as a
Yes.
seducer?
well, let me just, because the Christian example is so clear and so many will be able to relate to, and it's so powerful. You look at the example of Paul, who became Peter in the Bible. I mean, you could change your name. I changed my name 20 years ago. I had one name that I identified with being Mormon in this long history of my ancestors were all Mormon. And then, like, I chose my own name. That's something. And that's like huge, because from everyone calling you one name that has this old identity attached to it, to everyone calling you this new name that has what you created it to be associated with, like, that's one powerful thing.
Right.
Right?
That's why the pickup artists all had their pickup names.
Yeah, it's an identity shift.
Yes.
Right? I'm whoever day game or whatever.
Right.
That's a big piece. Also, looking back at like a church, right? A congregation. They come together on a regular basis. They pray together. They worship together. They study together.
Right.
They sing together. And what are they singing? They're singing songs of their people, right? Songs of their heroes, songs to their father, songs to their family. With the song, and it's like a ritual, and it's an incantation, and it's a feeling that goes along with it. I participated in an ayahuasca ceremony in Brazil that was with the Santo Daime Church down there. And if you can imagine like a church, but it also includes mind-altering substances,
Right.
and just like incantation, like singing song after song after song with the exact same rhythm, and you're just like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But this is like, it's like a reprogramming, it's like an indoctrination, and if guys can choose this for themselves,
Right.
to put themselves in a situation where they're indoctrinated as they want to be indoctrinated, then it's a positive, powerful thing. Now,
Right.
if someone else is indoctrinating you without your say so, that's something completely different.
Yeah. So inviting you guys to do exactly that is to say, we're not saying this is the truth and this is the way to go, but imagine you start identifying yourself as a seducer, not just as a guy who is going to use seduction to get the women, but start identifying yourself as a seducer. I realize it's what I've been doing. You know, when I went into this, I went and looked the historical examples of great seducers, and I really connected with them. And I met Zan, you know, and Zan, if there has been a seducer, it was him. And I really identified himself as a seducer, and so I went along with that and see where it would take me, you know, and it has given me great things to identify that way. So imagine,
which is another great thing. Go and live with someone.
right?
Be around them, hang around them, travel with them. There's so much that comes to us in terms of feedback of who we are just from who we hang around.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So imagine you do that, guys. You identify as a seducer and you do the things that seducers do. You know, it will make all of those challenges so much easier. You will know what to do when you see a woman that is that you fancy, and it won't be a job. It won't be a job to go over because you're a seducer now.
It's not this. It's not as simple as just declaring it, though. I mean, I think Zan talks about like making a big renunciation.
Right.
Right. Like giving up something big, which is what you did. Right. You left your one life behind. You left the university, your job in sociology, and your path of getting a doctorate in philosophy. All of this. And you went and traveled with this seducer guy,
Right.
giving speeches and whatever, and like you completely took a leap.
Right.
And this is really powerful. Like for a guy to, like, for example, imagine he's living a normal life, he's got a job and whatever. Imagine he sells everything, moves to Brazil, and lives on the beach. Like every day that he wakes up, he's gonna be like, "Why am I here? How did I get here?" Like our mind is always telling a story.
Right.
And if you put yourself in a situation, if you make a radical leap, the story, it's gonna have to start feeding some kind of story about how committed you are to this or who you are or
Right.
whatever. So a radical action. It doesn't have to be a renunciation necessarily. It could be taking a large risk.
Right.
In line with something that this transformation. Let me tell you just a really quick. I've told you this story about as a kid. You know, I had grandfathers who were cowboys and farmers, lived in the Wild West, and self-made men, entrepreneurs, and you know they were heroes to me. I lived back east, so you know to them I was like a city kid. I was not really living like them, and for me, yeah, it helps to be related because you can see yourself in them, which is a whole nother thing. Like, go to look back in your bloodline and find men who are great with women, and begin to look and know that, hear their stories and learn who they were because there's a blood connection. It's really powerful. You start to identify, like, it's in my blood, that's who I am. But with my grandfather, like, for all I know, I'm not like him, right? Well, we were up in the mountains and we'd taken horses up there for the week. And we were, the first day we were feeding them down at the river, just my grandfather and a few brothers and sisters and cousins. They were going to go head back to camp, and I said, well, my horse isn't done. It was the biggest and the youngest, and it was, you know, eating and drinking a lot. And I was like, I'll stay with my horse. And my grandfather was like, all right, but Michael, don't ride that horse because it's never been ridden bareback before, and it's bareback. It's just ate and drank, which you just don't want to do. And you're not a cowboy, you don't know how to ride a horse, whatever, right? Like, there's all these reasons not to do it. And he left me with that horse. As soon as he turned the corner, I pulled that thing up to the biggest stump I could find and, scared shitless, leapt onto the back because I wanted to be a cowboy like my grandfather. And the result was I instantly got bucked off, broke my ankle, came through, suffered for, a month because he wouldn't take me to the hospital. And my ankles really broke clean through, and he's like, you didn't listen to me. But the point, like to me, that broken ankle, and then when I got the cast on it and went to school, guess what? I had a fucking story to tell of leaping on the back of a horse that had never been ridden bareback before. Like, that made me a cowboy.
That made you
know what I mean? Like, identity level shift. And I'm not sure I ever rode a horse after that. But more than the cowboy was like, I'm like my grandfather. I'm an adventurer. I'm a risk taker. So just taking a big risk in line with something like that, putting down a lot of money to invest in something, going and joining a school that requires a huge investment of time and money.
Right.
If you can do that, it's huge things for identifying, changing that on an identification level.
So I hear many elements. I hear making a stand, declaring it to the world, investing time, energy, money, focus to what you want to be. I hear being together with like-minded people. I hear researching your heroes and be with your heroes. Renunciation, all of these elements, and there are many more that could help you identity shift. And what we're doing right now is develop a platform where we can make this happen easier, where you can not only on the one hand have all the challenges, the 12 challenges, and you could do it on your own, but make an identity shift possible, and that will make all of those actions a lot easier. Because if you can do that, if you can have an identity shift, you'll get the results a lot quicker, and you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it as well. So stay put for that. It's coming out soon, and thank you, Michael. See you soon.